Market's gone crazy out there. We've got cash buyers coming in, swooping stuff up. We've got young, hungry investors keen to get in. Where are the numbers? Are you telling me the rent? Are you telling me the strata? Are you telling me the council rates? Over the last 5 years, it's had 83% growth. So a large chunk of its growth has occurred in the last 5 years. It's taking 3 months for properties to sell in this area. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Smash Property Podcast. This week on the Smash Property Podcast, we're going to do a live deal search. I'm going to show you on my screen, on my iPad, how I would go about finding a property, not only finding it, but then also doing a bit of suburb research. Now, we're going to make a couple of assumptions here that you sort of know roughly what areas you're going to be looking at. And we're also going to assume that you don't want to pay for a buyer's agent, obviously, and you don't want to pay for extra data. So everything that we're going to go through is stuff that is publicly available. Obviously, realestate.com is, but also what I would do to kind of go through the suburb research and use some of the free tools out there. So you should get some value out of the episode from that. Hope you guys have been well. This morning, I had some Botox this morning. I had some Botox injections in my temples and in my jawline, and it's not what you think. I get heaps of migraines, so I had these Botox injections in my temple and my jaw to try and reduce the migraines that I've been getting. And I tell you what, it's been intense, these migraines. So hopefully that has worked, and hopefully it doesn't really make me look any funny. You shouldn't notice anything straight away, but maybe over the next few weeks, if things start to change, you know what's going on out there. So I hope you guys have been good. Obviously, lots of crazy stuff going on over the last sort of few weeks. You've been watching, obviously, some of the potties that we've been doing. Market's gone crazy out there. And it's really interesting because I'm seeing there's obviously some people that, are sort of on the fence and kind of, I want to say fearful, but kind of just waiting to see what happens. And then there's like this other group of people that are just like, let's go, man. I'm like, we've got cash buyers coming in, swooping stuff up. We've got young, hungry investors keen to get in. And I'm also itching to get back into the market as well. I haven't bought, what am I doing? I bought a property earlier this year, so it's not like I haven't been out of the game for a while. But this one, I wanted to just kind of, the screen share sort of live deal walkthrough seemed to go pretty well. On the last, I think a couple of months ago we did it. And so I wanted to do that again today. And we're going to start with I'm just going to assume you've been watching podcasts, you've been watching maybe my podcast, there's loads of others out there. You have like a rough idea, of like, okay, Victoria is like a decent market to get into, but where in Victoria? What kind of properties do we want to buy in Victoria? And so we're going to look at that together right now. And so we're going to bring up the screen share, and I've got my realestate.com. I'm a realestate.com guy. You can do this on domain, obviously. They're kind of, I'm going to say one in the same. I don't know. I've just been, a realestate.com guy for a long while. And so we're going to go with a couple of things and go, okay, we want to spend, up to a $500,000 purchase price. We know that we sort of want to try and get a house on a big block of land if we can, because you've been watching my podcast and you know that, hey, the secondary dwelling is a good thing. You want to just have a suss of like what's possible out there. And then the other flip side is like, okay, I don't want the freestanding house, but I want a, townhouse unit that's going to cash flow really well. So we're going to have those, we're going to search for those two markets together. And then I'm going to show you how you can do the research on them shortly. So firstly, let's have a look at these filters, all right? So we firstly want to start with a freestanding house. We'll search for that first. We're going to bring our price. We're going to go up to $500,000 here. Now, for a freestanding house, bedrooms, I'm going to say at least 3. We obviously want a bathroom. We want a car spot. Now, land size is important. Now, I'm going to go like, you probably need a bit more than 600, but I'm just going to put 600 as a minimum in there. Now, it's obviously, we want to establish. We don't want to mess around with anything that is being built. And I'm going to exclude everything that's under offer or contract. And I'm going to go with the newest first. And then I'm going to hit search. And there's not a huge amount that's come out. There's a bit of activity going on in the sort of Traralgon, Morwell region. Let's have a look. I've not prepared anything here. This is completely live. Let me sort this mic out because it's kind of in the way here. And we're just going to go through. Okay, so we've got this 420 Rosedale. First one's a banger. Let's have a look. Yeah, cool, fine, all right. I'm looking at the kitchen. Nothing that's really, obviously, I don't love it, but I'm not here to love it. I'm here to capitalize. Let's have a little cool. Bathrooms, they had a go at the bathroom. I want to say the block of land. We got a big, flat, juicy block of land sitting here. We've got a mad bit of side access. I wish I could. I can't show you my pen. I'm looking at this side access here. Let's have a look. Obviously, that's mad, right? Sick. Okay, first one's a banger. What's going on here? Now, let's see the location, because in this region, there is a bit of, it's over here. See? I don't love that it's kind of like so remote. That's why the price point is what it is. So, first thing is, we don't want that over there. So, I'm going to zoom in a bit more, even a bit more. I kind of want Traralgon, Morwell, or Moe, however you pronounce that. Not saying the other one is bad. It's just a little bit too far. Like it's in a really, really small town, basically. It's not my ideal. This one here, I'm looking at something here. The guttering. Okay, not terrible. Okay, we've got an old roof there. Just making some notes. Whoa. What is this? I have no words. Why is there a different tile there? Okay, I'm not like, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Don't love it either. This is you kind of, you don't have to do like if I bought this, right? The numbers would need to work really well. And this is obviously reflected in the price. It's a sub $500,000 house, for God's sake. Okay. So painting, flooring is looking like it needs some attention. Again, I would buy this. You might not need to. I'd speak with a local PM and just be like, hey, what can I get as is? It's obviously not been very well looked after. It's got a big shed. Okay, so if we were going to do something, we either need to convert the shed if we can. If not, it needs to get knocked down and we're going to have to build something else. We've got a nice slab here. I'm hoping that shed is sitting on a good slab as well. And okay, so we've got a decent block. That tree's okay. It's not in the way or anything. We've got big side access here. So okay, that might be worthwhile. And okay, so we can see here, come up the left, you've got that shed. Okay, the shed's there. Got a little garden shed out the back as well. Possible. It's possible, but I want to see where this sits in the actual suburb itself. Now, yeah, it's not in a terrible part of Morwell. There is a flood zone or flood hazard area in Morwell, and it might well be in this location as well. But that's something that we'd need to check because I obviously know the area. But all right, Avondale Road, not bad. Let's continue. I know a lot of people like their low set brick, so let's have a little look at this. I can understand the appeal of a low set brick. I don't mind it myself. Okay, we can fit a car there, obviously. It's nice. Internals. Okay, cool. Like what I'm seeing. We've got newish carpet. Looks like there's been some paint. It's a clean, tidy property with a nice big block of land. It's obviously had some rain. I'm looking here. Is that a guttering issue or drainage issue? Sorry. Don't know. Just making some notes. Big shed. Love that. We're sitting on some concrete out there as well. And opportunity. We're actually on a bit of a roll here. 459. That's pretty intense for Newborough. So we'll see where this sits. And okay, I'm not hating on it one bit. I'm not hating on it at all. All right. There's actually some opportunity here. I'm going, okay, I know this area's had a bit of growth in the recent times. Like I know you could have probably bought these for like 300,000 not too long ago, but there's some opportunity there. I'm going to come back to, okay, so Morwell, I'm going to show you how to do the suburb sort of research on Morwell in just a second. But we know we've been watching podcasts, we've been listening, we know what's going on. Let's have a little quick look at Ballarat. What's going on over here, all right? So we've searched, we've still got our criteria. As I expected, not much going on in the Ballarat area for the prices and criteria that we have put in. In fact, you know, we want to purchase up to $500,000, right? So this stuff here, you can, and I don't think it's in the nicest part of town, which again is not terrible. It doesn't have to always be in the best part of town, but we're just sort of conscious of our neighbors, conscious of the type of tenant we're going to get in there, especially if we're going to invest, you know. It's not in a terrible part of town either. What's wrong with you? Why are you 3 and 4? Okay. Yep. Pretty stock standard. Hey, I don't mind it. Charming Canadian home with large shed and entertaining space. Yep. Okay, cool. I'm making a note of that, of where it is, noting that it's probably going to go for, it might go for overs in that part of the world at that particular point in time. Sebastopol, you know, there's little fibro type setup here. We've got, what is it, it's a 3-bedder, one bed. How many bedroom? Okay, sorry, main bedroom 2, office, they're probably saying is a room. Yeah, okay. Yeah, not really too overly interested in this because of, it's a big block of land. I'll give it that. That's for sure. So we'll just kind of skim through. See the carport. See with this, like you could, but carport, you know, is going to have to be moved because if we want people to access, and I'm looking here on the, sorry, I need to be able to point. If anyone knows how I can point with my iPad pencil, whatever it is. You see, I'm looking here, like if we could build a secondary dwelling out the back, I'm looking at this green patch. So out the back here, the driveway, the carport's kind of going to have to be moved, right? So there's a bit of work that needs to be looked at, but all right. So not much going on in that sort of Ballarat area. So let's kind of zoom out. We go, okay, what's going on in Bendigo? Let's have a little zoom in here. As I expected, jack shit, because it's a hot market. Lots of people looking to get in there. I'm going to come back out. You've heard me talk about Shepparton before. Let's have a look at Shep. Yeah, not much going on in Shep, especially for the criteria that we've got. Maribna, don't mind it. There is a bit of a flood issue or flood hazard area in the Maribna region. Don't like that. Tachura. Oh yeah, let's have a little gaze at Tachura, shall we? Let's search here. Okay, so 300,000 for a freestanding house in Tat. Okay, that's a reason it's 300,000, Nicholas. It's old, but I like this. I like the oldness. Like for me, it's numbers, right? I see 300,000 freestanding house, 600 square meter block. I don't even care where it is. I'm looking, okay, well, why is it this price? It's this price because it's old. Yep, sure. It's got not very well looked after. We can see that. But what opportunities can I see? Okay, I can't really, because of the orientation of the land, can't really do the secondary dwelling thing here. We're going to look at Kerford Street. Potential, I'm going to have to basically mow down the entire backyard. I like the house. I like the orientation. I like this part of the world. As many of you know, I did live in Benalla, which is, in country terms, it is close to Tachura. It's probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours away, but that's close if you live in the country. Okay, this one's been renovated. All right, so I'm immediately like, okay. Someone else has obviously either lived here and loved it, or has, you know, renovated it and is flipping it. Don't love that. We want to spend $500,000. We want to be the ones making the money, not somebody else. This Thompson Street set up here. Okay, so you could potentially have some area at the back here to do this. Now, I don't know the council regulations in this part of the world, whether, you know, what a secondary dwelling is really going to be able to do, but okay, So far, if we look at it, we've basically got, Tatura. We've got, what did we say? Morwell over here. Where the hell was Morwell? Yeah. Okay. So Morwell. So I'm just making some notes. Morwell, Tatura. You've heard me talk about Wangaratta. I absolutely love Wang. It sounded a bit weird. The city, the area. And there's not a huge amount going for under fives. We've bought for some clients here, but you want to do it yourself. This is a pool, so that's an immediate no-go for me. Reason why we don't love pools, guys, is just the maintenance cost. Things can go wrong. It's just extra cost you don't need to bear as the landlord. This one here, Swan 74 tone. You probably can't do the secondary dwelling here because of the orientation of the block. But for honest, it's a main road. See, we don't like main roads in smash property, so we avoid it. That was the road I used to come from. Coming from Benalla, we'd come down Glenrowan Road. Anyway, you don't need to know that. Greta Road, 460. Looks like it could be a meth den. No, we don't like those right near the shops and industrial sort of stuff. So not much going on in Wang. That's okay. We know, I've mentioned Warrnambool, so let's go have a little look here. Warrnambool's a sick market. Not much. See, there's not much for $500,000. And that's why if you're a client of ours and we get you a property, a freestanding house for under $500,000, it is honestly a winner. It's honestly a winner. All right. So there's basically the two areas, Morwell and Tatura, that we've seen that kind of cover the criteria that we're looking for. Let's just have a little. This is where I used to live, right? Let's have a look. Benalla. Not much going on here. 330, 397. Benson Street. All right. Yeah, you're not building a granny flat in Benalla. It's a beautiful town. I love it. Very tight knit community. Oh, see, I look at this and I'm like, I like it. It looks like a sauna. I could live there. In winter, it'd be nice and cozy. I miss Benalla, man. They've got NBN. Look at that. Look at them go. They're moving up in the world. Yeah, I like the garden. Benella's it's a garden city, right? Everyone looks after their garden and it's very beautiful. But you're not building a granny flat there, unfortunately, guys. So, all right, so that's fine. So let's go. Okay, well, we can't do there's not much going on for, the house, but let's look at the townhouse unit sort of situation. Now we're going to bring this back down to 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 1 car plus. We're going to spend up to $500K. Again, we want the established stuff. We don't want anything that's under offer already to get excited. Now we're going to zoom back out. Now, if I'm going a townhouse unit villa type situation, firstly, I want to look at what's going on in Melbourne. If we can get into Melbourne, we can sort of see. No, I'm going to go over here because you've heard me talk about Dandenong, Frank. Why is there nothing showing up here? What's wrong with my filters? 1 + 1 + 1. Because of the land. See, I knew there was a filter that was wrong. It should be blowing up. There we go. Let's have a look. I'm just sort of outside of the CBD because we obviously, and you've heard me say it before, we don't want the high-rise apartment stuff. Ooh, love this. Why do I love it? I'll show you. This was why I love it, because it's a building that looks like this. I wonder if they photoshopped these birds in here. Otherwise. Look at this. All right. This is built in probably 60s, 70s, something like that. There is no lift, and you can tell there's no lift because there's usually a little box at the top of the building here. So there's no lift to maintain. There looks like there's no pool or anything. Oh, I'm sorry, there might be a lift back here. Looks like there's no pools or anything like that. It's a very low maintenance type of unit, right? That's the first reason why I like it. Second reason why I like it, there's not a huge amount of units here. Now, this is probably on the higher end in terms of numbers of apartments and units in a complex like this. And it looks like it's been updated. This is most definitely AI enhanced photos, and that's okay. This is why we go and inspect the property. But I like it. I like the price guide too. All right. So, mid to low 300s. Location wise, if I sort of zoom out here, Dandenong area. Like we're not far from the sort of Dandenong Square. You've got, Princess Highway close-ish by, and you're not too far from the station as well. All right. So with townhouses and units, we're sort of looking through a slightly different lens. This is also a 2-bedder as well. So I like that. I don't mind that. This one too here on the higher end. Okay. So this is, again, I would say it's been updated. It looks like they may have done the flooring at some point. Very simple. I would prefer to go with a lower price point than the higher end in terms of I'd prefer to go for the 320 as opposed to the 400. Why? I'm a tight ass. I like to spend not much money. I'm just kidding. I splurge when I need to splurge. This, it's been renoed. Nope. I'm not buying that for $500,000. Might as well get a freestanding house somewhere else. This is an apartment, a new one. We don't do those. We know that. New stuff. Oh, Bentley East, a villa in Bentley East. Whoa, do you see these cupboards? They're like falling. Look at this. I'll show you what I'm looking at. Why do they sort of lean forward like that? What kind of design is that? Anyway, yeah, okay. So this is a reno. All right, you got to do some work here. But if you can get away with it and do it yourself, the paint, that sort of stuff, hey, more power to you guys. Now, this is on I wouldn't say it's a main road, but it's sort of, an arterial type setup here. But I don't hate it either, to be honest. I don't hate it. I'd be calling the agent to see what's what with that. And if I'm looking to do the reno stuff, that is. We don't want to go to 500K for a little unit. If we're going into a capital city for a unit, we want to go like 300-400 sort of thousand type stuff. Over 55s, obviously not for what we're doing here. So okay, there's not a huge amount, nothing that I'm sort of going, yep, love it. Let's have a little look at Geelong. There should be some stuff that'll pop off here. Okay, the big stuff we don't like. You know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to change my price range. I'm going to bring it right down. I'm going to say under 400. I want to be. Oh, hello, Corio. Okay, I know this is on the north side. Yeah. Okay, so this is a notorious-ish kind of area, but that doesn't put us off entirely. We just got to be aware of the type of tenant we're going to get, and that's okay as long as the building is insured. See it's a dead giveaway. You've got those shutters on the windows. Nothing terrible. It's actually pretty neat and tidy. For the most part. Now I'm looking at this block next door. There's this vacant sort of spot you can see here. I'm like, okay, well, what's going to happen there? Right? I want to maybe check any development applications, and it's a little tidy little unit in Geelong. That vacant block there is almost going to be developed at some point, which again is not a terrible thing, but we just want to know like what is it, what's potentially going to happen there, any high rise stuff. But for the $300,000, and for $300,000, it doesn't tell us what the rent is, but you can probably bet that's going to be a 5, if not close to 5% yield on that. We've got a unit here in Belmont. I don't know that situation. I just don't like it because it just looks like it's, it's sitting out the back here. I don't know, what is it for 300 and mid 300s. You can take a hike with that stuff. Got a little unit here in Belmont as well, ground floor unit, high 300s. Secured lease $420 a week until February 2027. All right, so we've got more than a 5% yield here. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. But we don't know anything about the area. So we've got Morwell, did we say? We've got Tuchura and we've got Belmont. We want to find out a bit more about those kind of areas. This one here. See, this would be more my sort of speed, right? Like, where are we in the whole grand scheme of things? Main-ish road. Not a bad part of town. I know the north. If you don't know Geelong, the northern part of Geelong is the rougher area, more so than the other parts of the city. I like it. All right, but they don't really want to give you the rent because they probably know it's really, really low yield. So, all right. So we've got a couple things here. See, when I see a 2 in any property, I get excited because I'm like, all right, where are you buying a property for $200,000? You can't build this thing for $200,000 anymore. All right, so we've got the Premier City Fringe spot. It doesn't tell us anything about the numbers. That's all I'm interested in. Well, that's why I look at this. I don't sit here reading this. I look at it and go, okay, well, where are the numbers? Are you telling me the rent? Are you telling me the strata? Are you telling me the council rates? And you're not, so I don't really care. That's why I'm going to call you Sean O'Brien and Rachel Taylor, and you're going to tell me those numbers when I speak to you. See, we're in a. If I'm looking at a townhouse unit sort of situation, kind of I'd be looking in these sort of pockets here, like close to, main sort of action in town. That's always a good thing. So, all right. So Geelong is up there. We said Morwell, and we said Tatura. So first things we want to be looking at here is what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to Google and I'm going to go Morwell suburb profile. All right. Remember, I'm doing this without access to data and all the stuff that we pay for. I'm doing this. You can look at my location. That's okay. And I'm going to come to a couple of things. I'm going to go to Smart Property Investment. All right. And this is not a plug for them or anything like that, but I'm going to have a look here, and they got tons of ads and shit, and that's okay. I'm going to log in. See if I can log in. You have to create an account. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. They're going to email you some stuff every now and then, but we get access to things like suburb profile reviews. So we want to look at Morwell. All right, so we're going to type that in. We are going, what do you mean? Why is that not working? Continue. Morwell. Or is it without the E? Yeah, here we go. Without the E, we hit search, and it is going to come up here. There's tons of ads. I said it's a bit annoying, but that's okay. We looked at houses in Morwell. I don't read any of the commentary because that's not what we're here for. We are here for this. Now, this is actually what I used to look at prior to paying for data, or prior to being a buyer's agent. I looked at this sort of stuff. Now, we've got to take it with a grain of salt. It's free information. We don't know where it's from. We don't know the age of it, but it's just here to give us a bit of a guide as to what's going on in the area. And so some things I'm looking at here is I'm looking at the median price. Okay, so 372. Again, we don't know, when that data's from, how old it is, but for the house, it's 372,000. We were looking at buying something just under 500,000. Now we know there's been a lot of growth. So, okay, in that time period. Now the median quarterly growth is 3.3%. All right, you can see it's had a bit of growth this quarter. Over the last 12 months, it's had 11% growth. Over the last 3 years, it's had 14% growth, but over the last 5 years, it's had 83% growth. So a large chunk of its growth has occurred in the last 5 years. So it's been on a run for some time, and the 10-year average is just under 10%. So the bulk of that growth has come in the last 5 years. And I'm not saying it's a bad area by any stretch, but we know there's already a lot of growth has occurred. Now, median advertised rent is $420. Okay, whatever, doesn't really impact our what we're going to do here. But the days on market or time on market is almost 3 months. It's taking 3 months for properties to sell in this area. So I'm looking at, okay, we've had a ton of growth in the last 5 years. Properties are now taking over 90 days to sell. Is that sort of calming down? What's going on there? That data is a bit sort of conflicting, right? And we've got median, yield of 5.87%, which I think is probably a little bit outdated. Now, this is interesting to look at. I always just look at, okay, total population. We're sitting at just under 17,000 people. Weekly household income, $906. And this is taken from the 2021, May 2021, 2016 census. I know there's a 2021 census. I don't really trust this data, if I'm honest, in terms of the demographics. This stuff, cool, fine. But I'm going to go back. we're going to go back to where we were. We're going to go to realestate.com. Realestate.com do have suburb information. We're going to look at to buy. We're going to look at 3 bedrooms. Now in Morwell, you can see the median price and they give us dates here. So it's a little bit better. May to April, the median price is sitting at just under $400,000. We can see in the last 12 months, it's up 15.7%, which is very different than what the smart property investment data was telling us a second ago. And you can see here, I'm looking at this graph here. Where are we? So, in May 2021, you could have bought something for, sub 300. And we had a big chunk of growth, obviously coming out of COVID. So, a big chunk of growth between sort of the tail end of COVID and 2023. It flatlined sort of between 23 and May 25, and it's on a bit of a growth run again. So I'm like, okay, I'll probably buy into this a bit more than the other stuff. Now this is telling it's 69 days on market instead of the 90, so it's a little bit different. Units we weren't really interested in. All right. So we're sort of saying, okay, it's on the move. It looks like it is on the move. Okay. And I'll always just maybe get a third. So you got Your Investment Property Magazine, and this is not obviously, sponsored. Who's going to bloody sponsor this podcast? I'll tell you that much. I would actually. No, would I? Yeah, I would. I'd sponsor my own podcast. All right, so we've got houses here, median price 380, quarterly growth 6.3, 12 months growth 13, so similar to what the realestate.com stuff was telling us. Annual growth 13%, so a little bit different than smart property, was at 9. Median rent though is the same. Gross yield is reasonably similar. Days on market's 52. All right, so we're sort of in that sort of 2-ish month, time to sell. I'm not looking at it being, a crazy sort of area, but I'm all okay. It's okay. It's decent. It's nothing flash. All right. But again, we're buying a property for under we're buying a freestanding house for under $500,000. They don't come easy. So we've got our sort of, area information, but now we want to look at the demographics, and we don't trust what we just saw there. So we're going to go to ABS QuickStats. Now we're going to go to the ABS QuickStats here. We're going to search the census tool. We're going to type in Morwell. And there's a few different things. So there's state electoral division. We want the suburbs and localities, which is here. All right. So that tells us the Morwell, suburb. It's basically, we want all persons. And here we go. Here's the actual data from the ABS, not some aggregated rubbish from another website. So there's 14,000 people that live there or were there at the time of the 2021 census. Now here you've got your median household income, so 942. All right, median mortgage repayment 953, median weekly rent 215, which is a lot lower than I would expect. But I like to come down here and I go, okay, well, what is the makeup of the population? And I'm looking at the ages here. You can see the bulk of people. It's actually a pretty even spread, to be honest. What you're sort of looking for is there's not too many oldies. You don't want to buy in a retirement village, suburb, you know what I mean? You sort of want that spread, which is pretty decent. Marriage, we don't care about. Education, not really too fussed about that, to be honest. As long as you can get a job, I don't care what you did for your education. Most people have a sort of Cert 3 in that area. Again, don't really care. Cultural diversity, not really too fussed about that. Now, what I am fussed about is we keep scrolling down and we come to income and work. All right. So people 15 years and older, 44% of them are in the labor force. All right. 44% are not, and 10% are sort of not stated. So 46% of people are working full time. And basically you got 11% unemployment. Now, if we look at the Victorian sort of percentage, Victoria as a whole has a 5% unemployment, and Australia as a whole has 5%. All right. So the unemployment rate in Morwell, pretty high. And we come down, we can see the main occupation is largely laborers. and sort of technicians, which is fair for that sort of part of the world. Employment, this is important, right? Because the industry is important. The main things we're looking for here is I know it's not a mining town, but you're sort of looking, it's not dependent on one industry, i.e. mining, because that's going to be a big problem if something gets shut down. But hospitals, supermarkets, services, these are all very common, and that's the sort of stuff we're looking for. And then the median weekly income. All right. So if we look at the household, it's quite a lot lower than sort of other, Victoria as a whole, and obviously a lot lower than Australia. Not a big problem, but again, we're profiling the suburb together, right? And then we can sort of see, we come down and we can see the dwellings sort of section here. So we've got 90% of dwellings are occupied in Morwell. You got 10% unoccupied. All right. Now that is interesting. Now we've got the dwelling structure, mostly 85%, separate or detached housing. And this is important because, for example, if we're looking at building a granny flat, all right, so you're talking 13% of the market there is living in a semi-detached sort of apartment / townhouse type thing. So there is a market there for what we're looking at, and housing here. So, and this is what I'm looking at. So 37% own outright, 24% with a mortgage, 33% rented. And this is probably very, very similar to what you would see, across the Victoria, the state, and Australia as a whole. So that's how I would look at the, the suburb sort of research. All right. So we've looked at how you can find areas on realestate.com, how you can quickly sort of filter and look through. And I've hopefully given you a bit of a lens as to kind of how I would look at properties on realestate.com and quickly filter them out. We've then sort of done the suburb profiling, right? And that's just Googling whatever suburb you're looking at and just typing in suburb profile afterwards, and looking at a few different websites. This information is free, so we've obviously got to take it with a grain of salt, right? Like, we don't know where the data's from, we don't know how old it is, and obviously free stuff is not always the best stuff, but again, looking at it from the lens of not wanting to pay for data. But then also we looked at the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and then finally we can look at the LGA, and this is where I come to economy.id.com.au. You do need to create a free account to access the information, but it is a wealth of knowledge and information. And in fact, a lot of the data aggregators that you would pay for, they get a lot of their sort of economic information from here. So as an example, we've logged in, we're looking at Greater Geelong, and it gives us, the snapshot as to what's going on in Geelong, the GRP, the population, the jobs, the residents, all that sort of stuff, all the good stuff that you want to know. It even gives us some maps down here that we can sort of look at as well. But on the left, we can sort of look at it and go, there's a population tool down here, population forecast. So you can see, all right, so the Geelong population forecast for 2026 is 306,000, and it's forecast to grow to 440,000 over the next sort of 20 years. And again, so the information from here is coming directly from the local government or the local council that we're looking at. So this is Geelong, the City of Greater Geelong Council, and their actual forecast. That's where this information comes from. So it's not just made up or random or, guesswork or anything like that. Now we want to look at, I'm just looking at whatever here, building approvals. This is a good one to understand. Now I look at this quite frequently to go, okay, what is the building approvals looking like here? And you can see on the far right, just here, building approvals have actually come down, and residential is down on the sort of long-term average, as is non-residential as well. So that's a great thing to understand. Okay, we've got less building approvals going on in the Geelong area, and you can see here the total value of the building approvals, etc. But we want to understand, what is happening with supply. So we know, okay, population is going to increase. Supply based on longer term, historical sort of averages is down. But then we can look at, okay, well, what is going on in Geelong industries? We can see here a large chunk of Geelong, and you can filter here, is made up of healthcare and social assistance, which is great. All right, that sort of stuff is always going to be there, followed by retail trade, education. These are all really strong employment indicators for a particular area. I really encourage you to kind of play around with this. I love looking at all this sort of stuff here because it really does tell us a lot about an area, and it's free. All right. There's loads and loads of information you can look at. So that is hopefully a bit of a guide as to kind of like if you wanted to DIY, you didn't want to pay for data, you didn't want to pay a buyer's agent. Hopefully you've got a bit of value out of that and you can make some use of that. If you did, I appreciate a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you want more property investing content just like this. We release stuff on our socials every single day and obviously the long form content every single week on Spotify and YouTube. If you do want help on the journey and what you just looked at was like, hey, I don't have time to do that, or I don't even know what I'm looking at, you can reach out to us. There is a link in the description. You books a 15-minute call directly with Akira. She's the co-founder of the business. You would have seen her on some of the podcasts before. She'll talk to you about like what your situation is, where you want to go. Are we the right people to help make that happen and help make your goals happen? And then you can decide whether you want to work with us or not. There's no like, you don't need to lock in or anything. So that's all we have time for. I appreciate you watching. If you want to see more content, kind of like what we did, or you want to see some other stuff, let me know. I'm always looking for ideas of what we can do to keep things fresh and valuable for you guys. But until next week, I'm Nick V. Thanks for watching. Catch you soon.